Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our commodity technical analysis update, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'm going to interject my financial opinions as we go. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. Join our community. That's where I dive deeper into the commodity space, individual sectors, individual companies, junior companies, precious metals, whatever it is. I do trainings on all this type of stuff in terms of the fundamental backgrounds, deficits, supply deficits, demand deficits, all sorts of that stuff. So if you're interested there, go ahead and sign up. So let's go in. Let's see what is going on today. We've got the dollar, and the dollar still looks a little bit weak. It looks like we've got a basically an inverted flag pattern where we could go lower with the dollar. But yields have continued to be quite resilient, and I think that's what's keeping the dollar at least somewhat buoyant and holding on. So the 2-year yield was up 1% today. We've seen a move a little bit higher in the 2-year yield in the short term. What I'm looking for, we've got pretty good downside. Now we've got a pretty good bounce here. Are we going to continue up with yields, or is this thing going to roll over where we get kind of like some sort of top? I don't necessarily know that. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, the momentum in the short term on the 2-year yield is definitely higher. We've got the 10-year yield also working its way up. We are underneath resistance, and we need to work our way through that resistance if we are going to continue on higher. Is this a inverted flag pattern on a bigger time frame? I think it could be. And I think we could get down to the 3.4 level. I don't know the reason necessarily why, but that pattern could exist. And that is one of the things that we are continuing to monitor. A lot of the times you go up in about 3 waves. One wave, third wave, and then the fifth wave, first wave is this wave here. Then you've got 1, 3, 4 there. This is your entire third wave. And then you've got a fifth wave. And then generally on the right-hand side, you get a pullback of that. This is Elliott wave analysis, and generally you get like an ABC correction. And this here could be all of the first wave. And then this will be the second wave pullback as you've got multiple cycles within the waves. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it on a bigger, longer term view where we could get further weakness in the short term. It's possible. I'm not stating that that is 100% the case, though. And then the 30-year yield's doing the same thing as the shorter and the 10-year. And again, is this an inverted flag pattern? We'll see. We'll see. But we were up today 0.86%. TYX TNX ratio basically just moving sideways, flat in terms of this ratio. And we are very inverted, which means that generally speaking, it's a good time to be looking at precious metals. When this curve uninverts, they generally go up. Bond prices were down a little bit today with yields going up, and we're still above support. We've got the 2 and 10-year flat today, so not really inverting or uninverting. Gold looking pretty solid, up about $12 an ounce. It's holding on irrespective of what yields are doing. So yields were up. Dollar was slightly lower, but yields were up. We had a yield curve that was flat, and gold was up. This looks really good for gold. We've broken out undeniably to the upside, and I think we're going to continue higher with gold. How high will it go? You could put a whole bunch of different types of projections on that. My guess would be somewhere between $2,400 and $3,000 is probably the first maybe leg of this thing. Silver just ripping it today. This is getting very close to a monster breakout here. Generally, silver moves very quickly. It doesn't have a lot of pullbacks. And if we break out here, we could get a very big move in silver. We could be looking at, this moves pretty quick. And I don't want to put necessary price targets on it, but this thing could move very quickly. Last time in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months time frame, we went from $18 to about $50 an ounce. We had a very short time period back in the late 70s as well, where we went from maybe December 78 to beginning of 1980, about 1 year, and we went from $6 to $50. What is this move going to do, and how fast could it do it? Um, I would say it could do something very big. It could even go to two or three or $400 in less than a year or a year time frame. Now, is that my projection? No, but what I want you to walk away with is it moves very quickly. You don't get a lot of big pullbacks, and we are squeezing very tight here in the corner. If we break, we could see a very big move to the upside. It could be big enough where it engages the larger patterns as well, and it shoots us into what I'll call is maybe like outer space. Like, so this big pattern that we've got in silver, if it engages, it'll break, potentially break, the smaller pattern will break the bigger pattern, which then breaks the other big pattern, which then goes up to some ridiculous level. Um, that is a could, and I'm not stating it will, but it could do that. And that is what I'm kind of watching and looking for opportunities to play this type of move, where if it only goes up to, 40 or $50, okay, I still made money. But if it really engages and goes way up to some ridiculous level and it breaks the big cup and handle, the 50-year cup and handle, I'm going to be locked and loaded, ready to go. Platinum also moving higher, and I like that we've got this um, confluence of information where all the metals are moving, but that looks good to go higher. Nice strong day today, up 1.8%. And palladium also higher. That's also looking good with an inverted head and shoulders that's broken the neckline. And that generally indicates a bottom. Inverted head and shoulders generally occur. You get these like big shoulder type patterns there, and then it comes all the way down, and we have a smaller in uh, inverted head and shoulder pattern over there. XAU to gold ratio, this is where the gold and silver mining companies are outperforming gold. It outperformed it by 2% today. So people are buying up the gold and silver mining companies. It looks very good. We are at an incredibly low. I would say this could be a once in a lifetime opportunity. This opportunity has not occurred going all the way back to 1984. It's never been this cheap outside of these couple areas. If we get the engagement, like I said, we already broke out above gold. If we get the engagement in silver, this thing's going to go like monster up if that does occur. Now, I know there's a lot of ifs that I just said there. So again, let's wait and see. I think it will break. Silver follows gold pretty well, and gold's already broken to new all-time highs. So I would expect the gold and silver mining companies to follow if we get ridiculous pricing on gold and silver simultaneously. CRB index, I know oil was up. This is looking fantastic. Big move today, up about 1%. We had the CRB index, or that was the index. CRB index versus the S&P 500 was also up 1.2%. We've been trading in this sideways action, and I do think eventually this is going to break, and we are going to move ridiculously higher against the S&P 500. And it's probably going to be a combination of the S&P 500 either going sideways or lower and commodities going up. That would be my take there. So GDX going into the actual gold and silver mining companies, GDX up 2.4%, GDXJ up about 2% right at its resistance line. This looks really good for a break. The reason I say that is we're starting to get these big green candlesticks. I call it the green army, accumulating in the corner here. That generally occurs under accumulation, and it generally is a precursor to a very big move. StilJ is also getting that type of action the past few trading months, and we're starting to break the downtrend line, which is this line that we have basically breached. If we continue this momentum to the upside, and don't forget, we could get a return move retest. That is possible. But if we see silver break that big pattern that I was looking at, I think these are going to follow with it, and then we could get a very big move. Crude oil up 2.76%, looking really good. I know we had some deficits in the inventory. We had some drawdowns in inventory, so we're running deficits in the world. In order to draw down inventory, you have to be running a deficit. So a big move today. It looks like to me that we've got some sort of flag pattern that's been broken to the upside. So it looks good to work its way on up. TTF nat gas down a little bit. I know nat gas is kind of in a glut at the moment with very warm weather, and that could continue lower. Same with nat gas in America. Again, we had a base out. It's going to take some time here to work off the extra inventory. It's going to be a combination of increased demand eventually, maybe over the summer, and pullbacks on supply. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, up 2.11%, banging its head on the neckline, and we could see a big move materialize out of this if oil continues higher and XOP breaks through its neckline. I think it looks absolutely excellent. I've got a ton of oil and energy service picks to take advantage of this exact move that I think will be massively leveraged to, versus XOP. It's going to double, triple the outperformance of XOP, in my opinion, some of these individual companies that are out there. OIH is also looking very good. We're up 1.42%. Pretty strong day today. Not a real strong closing, but still strong enough, and is looking pretty good on a longer term view where I think this thing will eventually work its way on up. The world has been depleting its reserves, and we're going to go after harder and harder to get oil. Stuff in the ocean, on land, we're going to be going after less and less, we'll call it tier 2 fields versus tier 1 fields. And the intensity of oil services is going to increase with time. So I am of the belief that this is actually going to go way up because of the intensity and the pressure that the world's going to put on oil production and the declining assets that these companies hold. They're going to be more difficult to get out, and they're going to get less out of it, which means they're going to have to increase the drilling intensity. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust not doing too hot today. We're down 3.7%. It's not a horrible candlestick. We got a little wick on the bottom, but the momentum is still to the downside. And it looks like to me that we did break a little bit of that support that we had there to the downside. So there could be further downside. We'll see if we can bounce back up into the channel tomorrow. URA also selling off. I left that in there, the flag pattern where we could potentially break to the downside. That is a bearish engulfing where we could end up going lower in the short term. This also could be developing a shoulder head shoulder where we could fall further to the downside, which is a possibility. URNM also exhibiting that same trait. We do have a lot of support in this general area that we are relying on to hold us up. If it doesn't hold us up, this also could be the neckline of potential shoulder head shoulder where we could fall further to the downside. I'm not stating that that is my opinion. I'm just giving you guys the option of what it could be. And then URNJ's got the same type of setup. Bearish engulfing where we could head lower. It could be a flag pattern. It could also be a shoulder head shoulder. And I know people don't like hearing that are invested in uranium, but I'm just going to tell you what I see and what it looks like. And I do think that there could be further downside. If there is further downside, in my opinion, if we get a further sell-off, I would be a monster buyer if it gets down there. Because I do think that the longer-term fundamental outlook of uranium is absolutely fantastic. It's just in the short term, we've got some selling pressure going on, and someone is dumping shares, and that could be the retail sector getting scared. It could be whatever it is, whoever it is. TAN working its way lower, a little bit of higher rates. This is just inverse of rates, basically. Copper, breaking out, boys, breaking out. Look at this thing. Moving on to the upside, looks fantastic. Big move, big deal. We should be looking at copper companies, yes. Diversified mining companies, yes. This is probably the beginning of a bigger move. Does that mean that I think it's going to go straight up? No, you can get some small selling pressure days. It could do a retest. It could do any of those things. It could also just rip to the upside. I don't know. We'll wait and see. COPX also up 6%, baby. We have the breakout. I think I put in a inverted, just a breakout here, and it's looking fantastic to continue higher. Does that mean that it will go up immediately? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this can grind on up as it goes on up. Stair-stepping pattern usually. Lithium down a little bit. It doesn't look that bad, but it is holding on. We've got REMX also up a little bit. Doesn't look that bad. We do have stronger selling pressure. It is kind of squeezing up where we could puke out to the downside one last time. That is a possibility. S&P 500, I don't know how it keeps doing this. It just keeps going up. Still looks good to go higher. Little bloody nose, which could continue on up. And also the NASDAQ, just a small down day. Now, this is an overvalued land, a lot of these companies. The breadth is definitely shrinking, and we have a rising wedge up into the corner, and we've got a bearish engulfing a few trading sessions ago. I wouldn't be betting on this going up if it were me. KRE still looks good to go higher. There's no real selling pressure right on support. Looks good to go. It would be a flag pattern is what I basically am seeing. We've got emerging markets, higher rates. It doesn't like higher rates, but this is going to work its way on up if rates do fall. And we do have an inverted flag pattern on the interest rates. XHB up 1.5%. I thought we were in a housing bubble, but the home builders just keep going up because they are wrong. And we are actually in a home building spree. And I'm guessing that rates are going to go down, affordability is going to get better, and a bunch of new homes are going to be built. And that's why all of the home builders are going up like crazy. That's my guess. Moo also moving on up a little bit today. Looking good to go on up. Very good to go on up. Fertilizer's looking good, and some other sectors look very, very good. Iron ore down a little bit. We are still working some momentum off to the downside, and we could still see further downside. Aluminum looks good. We've broken the pattern to the upside. Still looks good to go on up. Baltic Dry Index down 2.6%. But overall, it looks like we've got some sort of like accumulation cylinder going on where we could jettison onto the upside with copper moving up, and maybe iron ore will finally find a bottom at some point. Newcastle coal up 0.4%. I do think that this is bottoming out, and I do think this is a huge opportunity in coal. We've got a basing pattern here, a breakout, and a retest. I buy the retest. That is where I buy, right there, where all those circles are at. So I think that looks really good. Bitcoin still going up about 3% today. Momentum still to the upside. It's sucking in more money. It's saying, feed me. Well, more money's jamming into it, is what I'll say. But it still looks really good. Ethereum also looking pretty good. Momentum to the upside for both of those. Looks very solid. And then looking at super micro computers, still working its way on up. We do have some big red candlesticks starting to work their way in. And eventually, I think we're going to start to move sideways and go through a distribution period. NVIDIA also big bearish engulfing pattern there on the candlestick, and I think it will eventually go into distribution, and it could be very volatile, however it looks, and then eventually work its way on down. That would be my opinion. I also think that we've got basically this is going to be like waves that come on up and pullbacks here in those waves, and I think eventually we'll get a topping distribution pattern where we'll probably go sideways for a little while. And it's at 2.27 trillion market cap. This guy's a big boy. That's all I'm going to say. But that's what I've got for today. Thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website, guys. I did release the midweek update today. We've got a 7 a.m. question and answer session on Saturday. If you want to partake in it, there's going to be a training session in the beginning of it. Not really a training session, just information about the precious metal setup that's coming. Obviously, I like the chart patterns quite a bit, but you guys can get some of the background information of how this setup is similar to previous setups in terms of the fundamental data behind it. You guys can see all that, and I'll show it to you of why I think we're basically replicating exactly like previous bull markets, commodity bull markets and precious metals bull markets, that we are in the same position as the beginning of those. And last week we did a oil cycles in oil, going over that, and that also ties into the precious metals one that I'll be doing coming up. But yeah, that's what I've got. And if you guys want to join the website, LEAP, LEAP, is the coupon code that you can still use. 50% off the first month, and that's only for the first month. Goes to regular pricing after, and then on the yearly you get a bigger discount. But that's what I've got for today. So we'll catch you guys later. This is Finding Value.